Hello, my name is Dan, and this is going to be a video on a series of games I played at a Cool Place Spring GT in Albany, Georgia. I am not good at Warhammer 40k, and I ended up going 0-5 at this grand tournament, but I wanted to make a video of all the different games, things I learned about them, and kind of how they went. Now you may be wondering, why are you making a video if you're bad at Warhammer 40k? And I think the answer is that I want to. If cheaters can have coaching services and people can use beer koozies as proxies for Mech Gunz, then I think bad players can make a video about their games. So first we'll go over the list I played. I've only played Blood Angels, that's the only list I have, and I basically brought all the models that I had painted and had in my collection. For my HQs, I had the Sanguinor, Danta, and Chief Apothecary. Just a side note, Sangiunor did not work out for me at all. I don't think he's a very good model, but I had a really good sculpt, third-party sculpt that I wanted to use, and so I threw him in my list, but I don't think he's very good. For the troops, I had one Incursor unit, one unit of Assault Intercessors, and then one regular Intercessor. For the elites, I had 2 units of 7 Sanguinary Guard, 5 Bladeguard Veterans, and 6 Death Company. And then for fast attack, I had 6 Inceptors with Plasma. So here's just a few pictures of the models I painted. In fact, these models on the screen right now, I had painted just the week of the GT when I decided I wanted to go. So I painted these guys up in about a week. And here's just a few more shots of the army. Oh, I forgot to mention there was a Judiciar in the list as well, down there on the bottom left. The first mission I played was Battle Lines, and it was against a Dark Angels Terminator spam list. He had about 30 Terminators, and you can see this was a 4 objective map. Dark Angels is a pretty rough matchup for Blood Angels in my mind because they have a passive that makes it so they can only be wounded on a 4-up. Now, as Blood Angels, I have a lot of Strength 5 weapons, and I get +1 to wound on the charge or after I'm being charged because of a Blood Angel, special ability. So normally I would be wounding his guys on 2s, but now it's all on 4s. Additionally, a lot of my weapons are 2 damage weapons, but all his guys are 3 health guys. So in a lot of ways, I'm getting hit twice, where not only all my weapons are half as likely to wound, but about 30% of the damage I do is actually overkill. So his guys, his stat lines and special ability really lined up well against mine. I took Relentless Assault, which is having more guys, more of my guys in his deployment zone than he has in mine. Seems pretty easy. Deploy Scramblers and Oath of Moments. Oath of Moments isn't great for this map because there's no center objective, but you kind of get it automatically several turns in a row by not fleeing. I hoped I could kill a couple characters and just stand on the board for the middle for a few turns, and I thought I'd be an easy 12. Obviously, that wasn't the case. He had Stubborn Defense, which for him was about an automatic 15 points. While we stand, we fight. Those were 3 of his 10-man Terminator squads. I thought I'd be able to kill about 1 of them. And engage on all fronts, I thought I'd be able to hold them to about 10. We'd be even on parity, and hopefully I would pull away just by a little bit. I had no intentions of fighting his Terminator brick by itself because those things were going to kill anything they got into contact with, and I would not be able to do that same to him. So what I tried to do is I tried to push all my guys to the right. I actually purposely deployed all my jump packs, Sanguinary Guard, Death Company on the left, hard left, to make him try to deploy there, knowing that I was just going to try to advance them totally to the right, and then try to take on just 1 brick of 10-man Terminators at once. So the plan was basically move my Inceptors over, overcharge Plasma into these guys, charge them with a unit of Sanguinary Guard, charge them with my Assault Intercessors, take 1 at a time, and then use my Death Company jump pack troops to essentially block a path so that the other Terminators couldn't charge my guys. And that kind of failed pretty hard. I'm not too sure how, but essentially he was able to just shoot through with only a couple shots my Death Company so he could charge his Terminators into a group of Sanguinary Guard that ended up missing their 7-inch rerollable charge on his Terminators. I tried to set up my Inceptors 18 inches away so I could just, get shots against his Terminators, but somehow I guess that didn't work very well, and he just walked up and charged me. So I had a plan, it just wasn't well executed, and that's kind of the theme going forward. Is I think I generally had an okay plan, but my kind of exact movements of pieces and pulling up of specific models really hurt me here. So I had my jump pack troops with 12 inches of movement getting charged by 6-inch, movement terminators. So that was not good. And as you can see, it ended up being 56-87 loss in his favor. The Death Angel's Terminators are quite tough. You can see that unit on the right. I barely ended up killing it after charging it with Sanguinary Guard, fully buffed up, shooting at overcharged Plasma Inceptors, charging it with Sanguinius, charging it with Danta, charging it with my Assault Intercessors. And that's about 1,000 points of models charging it, and I barely killed them by the end of the game. So you can see I still played it out, even though I clearly lost after I made a huge mistake in the center with my Death Company and Sanguinary Guard. And essentially he just continued to clean up all my troops. And I killed, one unit essentially of the Terminators, and that was it. Now, MVP of this one was definitely the Incursor. As you can see on the top right, they basically just ran by and guaranteed me 15 points on Relentless Assault because he was so slow getting in my deployment zone. Additionally, they deployed Scrambers in the middle and in my opponent's deployment zone. So just those guys scored me about 25 points themselves. Incursors were huge at this game. Okay, so now I'm 0-1, and I'm in the losers bracket. Kind of expected to be here, and now I go against Eldar. Well, I've heard these guys were pretty hard, pretty tough, but I never played them before, and I never even read the book, so I figured, hey, we'll just, play it out. It was the whole point of going to this tournament, was just have fun and learn about different armies and how to play this game. And it was Vital Intelligence, which is kind of triangle deployments in a couple of the corners, and 6 different objectives spread across the diagonal, and then 1 in each of your deployment zones. So this map, the terrain was really, really rough for me. You can kind of see that there was no possible way I could hide really any of my guys from his raiders. He had, I think, 8 raiders, then 3 of these other vehicles with 3 Dark Lances apiece. So he had 11 of these boat things. They can move about 14 inches and have like 36-inch range. So there's just nowhere I could be that would actually hide myself from, basically his fire. Additionally, with 14 inches of movement and my guys having about 12 inches of movement, there was really no way I could catch up with him if he wanted to just kind of kite me indefinitely. So I really had to push up and charge at him to have any chance of winning this game. Now, I got second, just like last game, and this was a really bad table and a really bad matchup to go second. It was basically like I didn't get to play. I put all my models on, and basically took them all off. Bring It Down was a pretty good secondary, I think, choice for this list. I get points for vehicles, so I thought that would have been a really good choice. Oath of Moments, although there was no center objective, my plan was to move my entire brick kind of into the middle off to the side, move my Sanguinary Guard on the bottom to the left, hold just 3 objectives, throw 1 guy up every turn essentially to get Oath of Moments, and then try to just take down as many of these boats and as well as I could. I threw a couple of distractionary things of the Incursors and Assault Intercessors on the top, hoping that would kind of distract him a little bit, but didn't actually really matter. So what ended up happening was after 1 turn of shooting, you'll see just like my entire army disappear. So I don't really understand how these transports can do so much damage, but they honestly picked up about 700 points of my army before I even got to take my first turn. I couldn't hide. I don't think this is necessarily against the terrain on this tournament. I thought they had good terrain, and I thought it was really well organized and a lot of good mats and everything. But this deployment against this army, I couldn't hide at all. It was absolutely no way. So in his second turn, he moves around. He totally surrounds me. I try to do the best I can. And this is turn 2. As I'm starting my second turn, I have maybe 400 points left on the table. I've only made 5 attacks the entire game, and it was the bolt pistols from my Bladeguard veterans against a ship. I ended up being able to basically destroy 1 vehicle, but I didn't play this game at all. This wasn't very interesting or fun. I basically just picked up my models. I think if I had gone first and I'd been able to hide a little bit in some of the center terrain with like an L, I think it would have been a very different game. However, this map wasn't one of those, and I did not get to go first. So there we go, a big loss, 16 to 94. The guy absolutely, cleaned my clock. Luckily, he bought me a beer after, and we talked. So even though I only got to play about a 30-minute game of picking up my own models, I made a friend, and he was a very nice guy. So round number 3, I'm 0-2 at this point. Not looking good, but kind of what I expected. I go into surround and destroy mission. This is round 3 against just what I'll call Deathwatch good stuff. So another good opponent, very nice. Everyone I played at the game store that day was. And this map was another kind of tough one. It was deployment on the long edges of the table. But as you can see from the terrain, there really isn't any way to hide. So if you're going against someone with shooting on this map, I mean, you better hope you can outrange them, or you can, just not die. And this map was not great for that. You can see the bottom 3 objectives. You can literally see between them, there's not a single piece of line of sight blocking terrain between 3 objectives. I think that's a mistake. Not very good for me, although there was a center piece of terrain, which I was really happy about because that would help me get Oath of Moments. So in this one, I took Relentless Assault, and I ended up doing all right on that by just kind of charging some of my jump pack troops into his dwelling zone. Oath of Moments was pretty good because of that center objective, and because of how easy that objective is to get. Deploy Scramblers, I wasn't able to actually stick any of my troops in his deployment zone, but I got kind of clobbered on primary here. I couldn't remember what the raised banners scores he got. I had taken notes from all the different lists I had played, but for whatever reason, I didn't write down raised banners. I think he got about 90 points total, though, against me. Kind of one of the biggest issues I had in this game was, once again, kind of getting shot off on the turn 1. A bunch of Eradicators moved up and basically just blasted some things off, and so did his big power fist Gatling gun guys. I can't remember their names. I also made a huge mistake on deployment. For whatever reason, I thought he didn't have any more drops left, so I put my unit of Incursors on the top next to his Incursors, thinking, hey, I'm Blood Angels, I can take him one-on-one. If I get the first turn, I'm going to steal this objective. Worst case scenario, I'll get there in a couple turns with one of my other guys. Then he just deployed a unit of Eradicators, and I felt like an idiot. But I don't like to do takebacks, so, that was just me being an idiot, and I lost about 100 points for free there. So I tried to move everything towards the center of the board, hoping I could get some big charges against him, and try to just take some of the initial shots from his shooting. It didn't work out very well. This is also kind of the theme of the games I played. I tried to send a unit of Sanguinary Guard on the unit of those aggressors, that's same aggressors, on the back middle there. It's a top blue arrow. And I actually lost more points of my Sanguinary Guard than I did in damage to his aggressors. I'm not too sure how that happened, but it's just how it is. You can see on the bottom there, what I tried to do is I tried to use my Inceptors, overcharge Plasma against his bikes, full rerolls from Danta, charged him with a unit of Bladeguard, Sanguinary Guard over the next couple turns, and he ended the game with all 5 bikes left. Yeah, I can't really explain how this happened either. I was a little salty during this game, so I apologize for that. But I was just like, I don't understand what is going on in this game or why I can't do any damage, but I would actually lose more points of my Inceptors whenever I shot them because the Plasma would just blow back and kill them. So I assume I just got really unlucky there, and he had a pretty good list. Librarian 5+ invulnerable, Apothecary bringing 1 guy back a turn, 6+ feel no pain on marine bike bodies, so they're obviously pretty durable. But yeah, I think I killed maybe 200, 300 points of his army this game before I got tabled. I wasn't really too sure what happened. Every time I charged something, I just lost all my guys. So that was that game. I lost 56 to 92. Then 4th round. This is my moment here against Space Wolves. It's sweep and clear. We've got these perfect elves so I can hide my army in. There's a middle objective, which is great for Oath. The mission secondary, Sweep and Clear, is also very easy and goes in line with Domination and Oath of Moments. So I think, I've got any game to lose, it's this one, and I ended up losing. But Oath of Moments, Domination, Sweep and Clear, I think these are the best secondary choices. However, I really wanted to go second this turn because things like Oath of Moments scores at the end of your turn, whereas the primary scores. The Domination, I believe, scores at the end of the battle round. Or Oath of Moment scores at the end of the battle round, and Domination scores at the end of your turn. So it is much more beneficial to go second in this this matchup, especially against someone who's doing the same thing. Oath of Moments, Sweep and Clear. Although instead of taking Domination, he wanted to just kind of style on me, so he took Heroic Challenge. You can see by the scores, he dropped 100 on me. There was no real chance. And I made a huge mistake on deployment again with this one. I tried to move my Death Company out, but I realized that charging him turn 1 would leave it so I didn't get my Domination or Oath of Moments. And I did not put my Assault Intercessors in range to be able to advance and get onto the objective to start with, because I started them in a crater. I'm not too sure why the crater was where it was, and I put my guys in that crater, but like I said, I was new to this game, and I think my game plans were okay, but the actual execution, I just totally flubbed up, and I wasn't able to get the Intercessors on. I had to keep the Death Company on the middle objective. I couldn't charge. So I tried to just move my guys up. He saw that I was trying to hold the middle, and then basically he just charged in with all his Bladeguard veterans. He moved a Terminus little drill thing up to the right, and then somehow that and some Long Fangs, I think is what they're called, they just killed my entire unit of Inceptors. And then Bladeguard killed my entire unit of Death Company. So at this point, I think I did only 2 damage so far in my entire first turn. And then he wipes out about 500 points, no problem. So my turn, I try to set up, okay, hey, if he's going to come out with all his guys, I'll get 2 charges with Sanguinary Guard, charge with Bladeguard Vets, charge with Assault Intercessors, and we'll just try to, high roll that way. And that didn't work at all, right? So all my guys come in. I try to charge 1 unit of Sanguinary Guard, put them in Assault Doctrine against each of the different Bladeguard Vets. However, my back guys missed about a 6-inch rerollable charge, and I honestly could have made it easier if I had just positioned them better in the first place, but I forgot to do that the turn before. So those guys are basically dead. The Assault Intercessors charge a Dreadnaught, who I had done 2 wounds to after throwing my Assault Intercessors overcharged Plasma at him, which didn't do anything, right? Only did 2 wounds. The Assault Intercessors ended up just getting interrupted on, and the Dreadnaught just killed all of them, and I didn't kill the Bladeguard Vets, even with my Sanguinary Guard. So that was pretty sad. And then in his turn, he kind of just cleaned it up. I tried to drop a Sanguinor in the backfield, thinking I could maybe charge one of his Incursor units as like a last-ditch effort. And then move my Bladeguard Vets up to try to kill another objective, let him have the middle and just try to hold maybe 3 or 4 things as a last-ditch effort, and that didn't work at all. I would charge his drill with my Bladeguard Vets, and somehow I lost more points than I did damage, which is just what happened. So, oh well, I kept playing and let him table me, let him charge, my commander. We had a little battle in the middle. Tried to fight on death, but he ended up getting the win on that heroic challenge. So scored 58, which is decent. I did all right on primary, but I got absolutely destroyed in the secondaries. One of the nice things about Oath of Moments is that even if you get tabled, you still get a point a turn because your guys aren't flaying, which really saved me a lot of embarrassment because it almost guaranteed me about 4 or 5 points a game. Okay, next game. So at this point, I was basically dead last. I think I actually was dead last in the tournament in terms of losses, although I had more battle points than several other people from some, decent scoring losses. And I played against the Ringer, who was a Harlequins player. Now, so I technically got a win this game, a 50-0 win, but I did not win this game. It wasn't even close. That's why I said I was 0-5, even though I actually technically got 1 in 4, but this game was a loss. So you can see Scorched Earth, Harlequins. I got a couple L's that I really like, so I can try to hide my troops in. And we both deploy along the lines. We got another angle of this. The point of the Death Company in the middle was that I could pre-game move them. So if I go first, I move them up and try to get a charge on the Harlequins. If I go second, I just move them in the L on the left there. And that L is actually really important because if I can put my Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, and units like that in the L, I can actually stay, a little bit over an inch away from the wall. And because the Harlequin bikes have such a large base size, they couldn't actually fit on the inside of the wall, and they couldn't attack me through the other side of the wall. So going and getting first turn here would have been huge, would have been an entirely different game. I could have thrown away one model every turn to, get in the center, try to take one side, probably the left side of the map, and had a fighting chance. But, fifth time in a row, I get the turn that I don't want, and it's just how it is, right? And I've never played against Harlequins before, and they are basically able to just, charge you into your deployment zone. And we'll show a picture of that later. Turn 1, they actually were about 3 inches away from my deployment, backfield deployment zone. So there was really nowhere I could have hidden. If I tried to line up just on my, backfield, she could have just controlled the entire board. So instead I tried to be a little bit risky. Now, however, I do think there was a really big misplay here where I wasn't using some chaff to kind of screen in front, because you can see that these Harlequins are going to be able to charge my Sanguinary Guard, my Inceptors, etc. If I'd put Bladeguard Vets and my Assault Intercessors, Incursors, etc. in front of my squishier, more important units, I would have prevented the charge against them. But that was a mistake on my part, and definitely a big lesson learned for me. So she goes first. She moves forward. This was after her movement phase. You can see that it turns out that she was actually being nice to me and going easy on me, because the left Harlequin unit moved unoptimally and they ended up failing their charge. But she could have redeployed them with a strat. She told me she didn't do that, and she could have just charged them and Inceptors and killed all of them. The other unit of bikes charged my Sanguinary Guard, and somehow she only killed 2 of them, but I think she's rated to kill the unit over like 3 or 4 times. So I don't know what happened with those rolls. I don't know if she just didn't use her weapon or something like that. Didn't bring the Incarn out until the game was basically over, so didn't use any strats at the beginning of the game. She gave me every opportunity to win, considering I was 0-4 at this time. I think she was trying to be nice to me, but she absolutely claimed my clock, and the game ended up pretty rough. I didn't even take score on this one. We chose secondaries, but we ended up not really caring about it. We only finished about 2 turns of the game before time was called. So that was the game. That was my tournament. It was actually a lot of fun. I really appreciate the Warhammer 40k community. Even though I went 0-5, I got a lot of good conversations with people about how to build lists differently, how to play differently, different lessons learned. You can watch battle reports all day and think you know how to play, but it's another thing to actually get in the game, realize you picked up one wrong model after failing a save, or moving, a little bit sloppily and missing out on a charge because you missed out on 1 or 2 inches of movement. It's pretty big. Another one that was really surprising to me was the chess clock. So I actually was on the chess clock for the first game, and when the game ended, I had about 3 times as much time left as my opponent. He was at maybe 15 minutes and I was at 45, and I realized I am playing way too fast and loose, and I think that's what caused a lot of issues in my games. But overall, I had an awesome time. The tournament was well run. Terrain was obviously beautiful. Missions were all good, and everyone there was incredibly nice to me. So I had a wonderful time, and I highly suggest you guys go to A Cool Place GT if they ever come up again. And I know I did quite a few things wrong that I probably didn't even learn. So if you have any advice, feel free to put them in the comments. I'd like to hear about, all the different ways I could either change my list to be better, or maybe even different plays that I hadn't seen or my opponents didn't tell me about when we talked about, ways I could have improved at the end of the game. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to my video.